What's going on, y'all? It is your girl, Bree, undeniably checking in for a new episode of my new speaker series, Deep Conversations with Dope Individuals, where we're discussing development, decision making, and dedicating yourself to purpose.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm here with a super dope individual. Genuinely, since the moment I met this person, I honestly, it's in his name. He goes by Dreams. I could not pick a more dope individual to have on my podcast right now, talking about his story, what has got him to where he's at. Dreams is a music artist. He is incredible at what he does. I have been lucky enough to be in studio with him a couple times.
Right.
And Dreams, truthfully, like the way that when I see you in studio, it's like you are in. I've never seen someone in their element more than you. It's
Word.
like you
Word.
think
That's the
in,
goal.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Like
that's the
you
goal.
think in rhyme, you think
Right.
on beat, and
There
it's
it is.
just really incredible to see. So I'm happy to introduce Dreams over here. Dreams, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invite. I appreciate your kind words, you know what I'm saying? And the way that you love my art. So, let's dig in. I'm ready to talk.
Let's
Let's dig
dig
in.
in,
For
of
sure.
course. All right, so the way that I kind of step into it in all my podcasts
Okay.
is I something we do in the counseling community is we say, "Help me meet you where you're at." So that is like,
I like
let
that.
me in on where you're at, and so that kind of opens the door for you to tell your story, however you choose to let us know where you're at now. So
Okay.
help the audience meet you where you're at right now.
Okay. So right now, I'm Dreams. Before we get to that, man, I'm Dreams. I am raised by a single parent mother, and I like to start with that because I think for the listeners that grew up like that, they off top understand the spectrum of where I am and how I grew up. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I was the man of my house when I was born. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So I say that to say like I was born a leader. I was born an underdog. You know what I'm saying? I was born a premature child. So even that alone kind of made me an underdog. You know what I mean? I say that to say I had to fight for my life out the gate. So all of that to say to get to where I am now. You know what I mean? So obviously we'll dig back into a lot of things. But right now, man, I'm free, growing, inspired, humbled, taking in life and just taking in this new journey that I've been on, not just musically, not just business wise, but personally as a person. You know what I'm saying? So really, that's where I am now. I'm in I feel like this year I'm 33 years old, which they say is God's year. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I'm in the learning curve of my life and my career, if you will. You know what I'm saying? I'm learning new things. I'm a father of 3. Shout out to my kids. So it's just different things. I'm learning different things about myself as I continue to grow and mature as a person musically. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm at with it. I'm taking life in. I'm letting it happen day at a time.
I appreciate you sharing all that already. I
Yeah.
mean, there are so many pieces of you that you just said in that one sentence, in a couple of sentences, and I want to go back to where you started because I think that is so important with what you kind of came out with, that
Yeah.
you know where you're coming from and what your family dynamic was, and I think you're so spot on that that will speak to a lot of people, telling people about who you are, where you're coming from. So let's dive in a little bit
For
deeper into
sure.
that.
Yep. Um, it's a few different things. Like I said, I was raised by a single parent mother. You know what I mean? I'm from New Haven, Connecticut. You know what I mean? A place that I feel is overlooked, underrated. We have a stigma that we represent rich people, rich kids. You know what I mean? I live in Los Angeles now, right? And every time I meet somebody in the studio and they say Connecticut, and then I'd be like, do I look like I didn't struggle? You know what I mean? Do I look like I'm the only black person there? You know what I mean? I say that to say like I'm from a place that is looking for a way out. We're looking for hope. We're looking for somebody to come and say, okay, he figured out how to help us get out of here. Not necessarily mean that you have to be a rapper or entertainer of any type of sort, but all of that to say, and it's all tying in back to being an underdog. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
come from a place that was already out the gate, behind the wall, behind the 8 ball of even having an opportunity. We don't really know what success looks like, to be real. You know what I mean? And not in this form, not you know what I mean? Not in the form of what these kids want to be. You know what I mean? Of course, everybody can go to college, but nobody can really fulfill their dreams in the way that we, like other places can. You know what I mean? So again, I was raised by a single mother. my father was in and out of the streets. You know what I mean? He sold narcotics for the greater part of his life. He's still incarcerated. He was in federal prison for about 22 years. Now he's in state prison, which he's facing a 15-year bid, which we're battling now. And people that's tapped into my music are really probably know a lot of my story that I talk about as far as my upbringing with and without a father in my early childhood. You know what I'm saying? So being being raised by a woman showed me a lot of things. It showed me respect. It showed me patience. It showed me responsibility. It showed me all of these things that I use now in my life. But it also led me to things that she couldn't control, respectfully. You know what I'm saying? It led me to the streets because I think if some of the viewers will agree, like even people from the streets were raised right. You know what I mean? I know shooters that mothers is in church. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't say that to brag about shooters, but I say it to show the dynamic in which you can be raised right, but once you get outside that door, the world hits you fast. You know what I'm saying? So you add that with coming from a place where I'm trying to succeed and do music, and then I'm trying to figure out my way and figure out my lane, and then being raised by a woman who doesn't have the necessarily the the man figure in her to be able to show me those type of things. So my journey kind of went from being a very young, emotional kid, from just not having a father. I call him my brother, which my listeners will know. I talk about Trez all the time. He's technically my uncle. He's my mother's little brother, but I'm calling him my brother because we was kind of close in age. He was 23 when he passed. I was 11. He got killed when I was 11. I feel like,
Sorry to hear
as
that.
far as, thank you so much. It's a celebration now, so it's all good.
I'm happy to celebrate with you as well.
So I felt like that was one of the staples in my life. If I look back and say, okay, what molded you positively or negatively? What molded you into who you are? For sure, not having a father. Secondly, when my brother got killed, it kind of put a certain, a hurt in my heart and a certain anger in me that I still try to heal from to this day. You know what I mean? Which, tying that back into the underdog thing and even tying that forward to where I am now, it's like literally my music is so in-depth and it's so like emotional and so relatable because I'm really just expressing myself. I'm just figuring out how to make it rhyme for real. You know what I mean? So, I think again, so those were two things as far as my upbringing. I got in a lot of trouble with the law, you know what I mean? And I think again that was kind of a result of not really understanding, you know what I mean, having anger issues that I didn't know I had, not knowing how to express myself in the way that I needed to, you know what I'm saying? So, and again, it's funny that actually ties into where I am now. Like I said this to my homie the other day. Like music literally saved my life. I know every artist always says this, but like it literally saved my life. You know what I mean? Because it was times where I was so close to being like, let's do this or let's do that, or shout out to my brother Sparks, man, because I feel like he was the one, like when I first got started doing music heavy, like 8th grade, 9th grade, and we were still kind of dibbling dabbling in the streets and doing certain things, and it was certain times where he was like, bro, don't do that. I know you tripping, I know you mad, I know, but don't do that. And it was those situations that could have turned me from a suspect, a victim, or just being who I am right now. So you know what I mean. Shout out to my dog and shout out to everybody who was in my corner in those times. But outside of that, I also think that the music also like helped me heal in a way. You know what I mean. Not only did it save my life, but it actually helped me heal. You know what I mean. Because like I said, I'm coming from being emotionally broken, being all of these type of things, and not really knowing how to express it, you know what I mean? So finding that way to express it through music was, like a lifesaver, you know what I'm saying? So again, to get me where I am now, of course we could dig into it some more, but that's like in a nutshell, like growing up without a dad, my brother getting killed, and then just, going in things in it with criminal stuff and just fighting and shootouts and, just surviving in a city like mine's is, let me say that so people really get it clear, man. Surviving in a city like mine's is not a thing that people can understand if you haven't ever tried to survive in a city like mine. Wow. You know what I mean? And I say that even more so coming from a city like New Haven, Connecticut, where people don't even understand these type of things go on. So now we're battling actually trying to survive with the stigma that we don't even have to try to survive type of thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's a battle, but it's a battle that I love that I have, and I think I was born in that place with a purpose, which we'll tap into when we get to the purpose part of the
we,
conversation.
we'll definitely talk about purpose, but I mean, first and foremost, I have to point blank just thank you for sharing
Of
those pieces of
course,
your
of
story,
course.
because I think that, that's a lot of the reason why I want this platform is
Right,
for people who might be battling similar things that you've gone through, to
right,
understand that they're not the only ones, but also to see that, everything that you go through also makes you who you are. And
for
I
sure.
I think that you're hitting so many of those points. So there's definitely a few things I want to talk about that you
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
mentioned.
definitely.
I mean, first and foremost, you talk about losing some incredibly important people in your life,
Right.
which I can only imagine impacted you tremendously.
Hmm.
You also talk about your family dynamic,
Right.
and you talk about the place that you were living in, kind of grew up in. So, and those all played a part in where you're at now. So,
Right.
kind of what I kind of want to go into is like at what point for you, sort of amongst all that, I know you talked a little bit about sparks and
Uh huh.
that those places in your life. At what point for you did you at least start to think like, I think this music thing might be my way, or
Right.
I think this might be a path that I can take? Like, when did those seeds start to get planted in your head?
Got you. I think it's like I got a few different answers for it. I think
Yeah,
there's
give them to us.
a couple. I remember like I wish my mother was here to vouch for it. I remember when I was like 3 years old, right? I had a Mickey Mouse tape player and I had a Belle Biv DeVoe tape in it, right? And I
Hmm.
say that to say like I've always knew that music was going to be intertwined in my life at some shape or form. You know what I
Okay.
mean? From that to choir to playing drums and playing. I played trombone in middle school. You know what I'm saying? So music was always intertwined in my life in some shape or form. But music specifically, so I say like how my brother got killed. He got killed in 1999, right? So we had a memorial for him the following year, which was 2000. So 2000, August in 2000, I got an aunt. Shout out to my auntie Kim. So I also grew up in the projects, right, in Ansonia, Connecticut. So at this, I remember vividly. We talk about it every time we see each other. She she like raps, not like professionally, but she just used to freestyle and always used to just rhyme, right?
Hmm.
And she did this rap at the first trash day. I was 11 years old, right? And I just was like blown away at how people took to it and how people was like short and just was like gravitating, and it made some people was crying, some people was emotional, some people was happy, some people was drunk, some people, but it showed me in that moment. I said like, okay, so you mean to tell me that the things in my story, the things that I could say can affect people emotionally and make people
Hmm.
move positively?
Whoa.
Okay. I like that. I think I want to go somewhere with that. So that was at 11. You know what I mean? So I think that was one of, at least when I think back, I have a vivid memory of that being like a staple of, okay, that's a thing. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Obviously, already being kind of tapped into music as a whole already. You know what I'm saying? So going from that, and then rap battling in high school. We used to go
Okay.
around like battling. Like I went to Hampton High, so we used to go battling at Hill House and go to Cross and battle and go to Co-op and go just whoever was rapping at the time. We was going to the high schools and just battling downtown on the green. Sometimes some things ended in fights. Some things ended in how they ended, but that's just because we were still, mixing in the streets a little bit. But
Hmm.
as far as the music side of things, I was always trying to be in that limelight, you know what I mean? As far as, or not in that limelight, but in that light of being a musician, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I got my first, it was trash, you know what I mean? I can say that now because I'm at a better place in my life. I got
For
my
sure.
first management deal my senior year in high school, right?
Okay.
Not gonna say the name of the company, but I made my first management deal was a local company from New Haven. So I really like to like use that as my starting point, if you will,
Hmm.
as far as professionally. Not
Okay.
not necessarily where I started rapping or did anything like that, but I think that's where I like start my journey at. You
Got
know
it.
what I mean? That's where I start the journey. Senior year, I got the first management deal, so that's about 16, 17 years old.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that started happening around high school.
Yeah.
Let's Before we kind of take off on that journey, I want to stay with Young Dreams just for a couple more minutes, just
Okay.
to just to kind of talk a little bit about the dynamic. So as you were kind of figuring it out, like, you know, you're so transparent about everything else that you were going through and everything else you were working with the life that you have lived in your
Right.
younger years. So was there like, did you feel like you were kind of, was it a back and forth for you, or like going through like trying to navigate your world at that time?
Mhm.
Did you feel like you were torn between like pursuing music and kind of or staying in the streets like
Yeah.
you, or is that something that, you know, you found it was easy to navigate?
I honestly felt like it wasn't easy to do,
Uh-huh.
but it was easy to decide which way I wanted to go.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I never wanted to be a big drug dealer. You know what I mean? I never sold a lot of drugs. You know what I mean?
Right.
It is what it is, but I never did nothing crazy to be like, oh, this is what I'm about to. You know,
Yeah.
my father did that, but that ain't me. You know what I'm saying? So what I will say, what was harder, the harder aspect of more than the streets was the get a job thing. You know what I mean? I'm sure a lot of, not even just entertainers, just self-employed, self owners or whatever you want to
Yeah,
call it.
yeah.
We go through the same type of thing of growing up, and their parents are saying, "Oh, I know you want to rap, but get a job. I know you want to play basketball, but get a job." It's like
Yep.
you start to get a little discouraged. Not that they don't believe in you, but they see the world a little differently than you do at that time. So I think that was a bigger battle than leaving the streets was. Because even when I was in the streets, if we in the streets, we fighting after school, but after we fight, we go into my homeboy crib and we getting on this mic for the rest of
Okay.
the night.
All
So it
right.
was never a battle of like, oh, do I want to, like, nobody had to pull me in the house to rap. I was in there constantly,
in
you know
there,
what I mean, for
yeah.
years. So I never had that battle. But like I said, I think the battle was more so of like how to survive. You know
Right.
what I mean? And shout out to my brother KS. We've been through so many things of just being like, okay, you're amazing, I'm amazing at what I do, you're a talent, I'm this, I'm that, but how the hell do we survive?
How do we get?
How do we
Yeah.
make money? So I think that was a thing when I traced that back to 10 years prior, just trying to navigate that.
I got you. And you know, it's so interesting because like that piece for sure, everyone I speak to, that
Yeah.
is for sure a struggle that people go through. Like, okay, like I know that this is my calling. I know I'm being pulled in this direction, but how the hell do I make money doing
Right,
it?
right.
How do I survive
telling you.
until I can make the money to
Passion
do it?
don't
You know,
pay bills.
that is right. A lot of people's passion and their paycheck just don't seem to align, and
Yeah.
that's you know, hopefully we can close that gap eventually. It seems
Yeah.
like in, you know, kind of in the place that we're at now, and
It's
20
closing for sure.
yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely
closing.
it's
Yeah.
definitely closing, but I know that is so difficult. So
Mm-hmm.
all right, let's we will, you know, we can kind of move into that space a little bit later, but let's go back. So you got your first deal in high school, kind of like first official deal in music,
Right.
doing your thing. What kind of changed or transpired from there? What progressed in your life from that point?
Um.
Or where did that take you?
Right.
You know?
That specific one didn't take me far
Yeah.
per se, but it did show me that
Mhm.
a few things.
Okay.
It showed me that people outside of the people I grew up with believed in me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it was like, okay.
That's important.
You know what I mean?
That
Like,
is
okay, because
really
it's cool when
important.
your homies believe in you and your mother and your auntie and you at the cookout rapping and you doing
Yeah.
all this. But then when people want to invest money in you, it's like, oh, it's really a thing now. Okay, even if it was $100, you know what I'm saying? Like
Something.
at that point, it was like, okay, people believe in me. Cool, that feels great. Now what? It did. I will say it did show me this. It showed me a little thing, like some things about structure. You know what I mean? Because
Okay.
regardless at what level that company was, they had somebody who was managing me. They had somebody who was supposed to be doing marketing. They had somebody who was a producer. We had a little photographer. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I see what's supposed to be going on, even at that local level. You know what I'm saying? So it showed me that. But then, most importantly, I really want to dig into this more in this show is
Let's do it.
it showed me my worth. It showed me that, okay, this is cool, but I know what I was sent here to do. And what I have to offer as a talent is way, 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 way deeper than this. And that's no shot at that company, but it's just, just speaking the facts on what I know my worth and what I was sent here to do with my purpose. You know what I'm saying? So those three things it showed me for sure. And then again, I learned certain things in it. I did some shows. I did the legendary Toes Place, if any of the listeners know about that in New Haven, Connecticut. Every one of your favorite rappers have came through our city and did that. Every one of them, and I probably opened for half of them. You know what I mean? So I say it showed me that. It showed me what I was worth. It showed me a little bit of structure. It showed me that, okay, this is a stepping stone. It showed me how much further I had to go. Also, it showed me like, wow. And at that time, we talking 2006. Not to age myself, but we talking 2006. 2006. My senior year in high school. So now we thinking about at that time we got like Meek Mills is coming out, and you know what I mean. But
Yep.
everybody is like, dang, I want to get to that. How do I get to that? And then I look at this. It's like, okay, I got to figure out how to climb the ladder a little bit more. So it gave me some motivation for sure. It gave me some inspiration and some know-how how to get to the next level. You know what I mean?
It's like it got your feet wet, and
For
you're like,
sure.
I'm ready to take
Yeah.
off in this. Like I realize, even though again, no disrespect to the company,
Right,
but
right.
that was your starting point, and everyone's
Right.
got a starting point.
Yeah.
So that was where you did a lot of that learning and that growth.
Yeah.
Let's talk about finding your worth,
Yeah.
because
Well, there it
that
is.
that
Come
is
on.
something. I mean, like if I know we got 40 more minutes of talking to do, but who, for those listening, like this could be the gem that you're looking for,
Yeah.
because that's something that not everyone in their lifetime is able to find or get
Right.
to or realize
Right.
or understand. So
Right.
let's dive in there.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I think it's so valuable. Before I get to that, I want to dive into something else that
Yeah.
leads me into that. So in 2016, October 23rd, 2016, I suffered a brain concussion from an incident at a nightclub, right? Not to dig into that specifically, but I want to talk about the recovery of it. And I want to talk about how you get into certain mental pockets where you feel worthless and you feel life is not necessarily worth it, or you feel that everything that you thought you were so great at prior to that, you feel not so great at anymore. And you kind of, and for the key word, you kind of feel like you lose that worth or that self-worth that you had. You know what I'm saying? I think just being mentally stable and being mentally prepared and being mentally focused is the number one key to any journey. For me and my recovery, for me and everything I'm doing now, musically, as a father, as a lover, whatever it is, I have to so be mentally tapped in. Like Kay could tell you, like I gotta be like, if we're not structured, it makes my anxiety go wire.
Right.
Because now I gotta know everything. You know what I mean? But to get to back where I am right now, it was a long journey of just finding my worth, and that even going back to as my childhood of just like, damn, dude, my father like don't think I'm worthy. You know, in hindsight, as a kid, you don't really think it.
Yeah.
But again, all of that to say, like, yo, knowing your worth is for many different reasons. If you want to look at it from a financial standpoint, knowing your worth could change you from being a thousandaire to a millionaire.
Yeah.
Just knowing your worth and knowing what to talk about when you get in that room. You know what I'm saying? And knowing what you came to get. You know what I mean? So I think that just understanding your value, understanding what you have to offer to a person, and this isn't anything, man. This is in a romantic relationship. Understanding what you bring to that person as a partner, it's in obviously the music industry, and understanding what your capabilities are as a entity. You know what I mean? So I learned that in so many different ways along my journey. But I feel like it's literally like number one on my list of things. And I learned, again, if we tap that back into the story that I just told, it's almost how I got to this now, and it's almost even damn near almost down to the session we doing tonight. Why I'm making this new music right now is because I need to figure out how to get to the position, because I know my worth now. I understand it now. I've been through a lot of things. I signed to some super dope people. Shout out to my guy Mars, 1500, all of that. And I'm surrounded by a lot of great people. Now I know my worth now. Not that I didn't before, but now I've elevated 10 more levels, and now it's like, okay, now I got to create the things to make my worth match what I'm creating and what I'm presenting. So I think a lot of that had to, like I said, had to do with my worth and just knowing, like, okay, now I know what to talk about when I get in there. But if I didn't know my worth, I'll be getting thrown around like a rag doll. Oh, let dreams are ready for 250.
Yeah,
Where?
and it's like
You know what I'm
you'll
saying?
get tossed around in the industry for
Exactly.
sure.
Yeah,
People
and
will see your talent
For
and want
sure.
to take advantage of it, because
Exactly.
that's if you're not being upfront with exactly who you are and exactly what
Right.
you know you can do, there anyone's that's in any industry, but I can only imagine the music industry. That's
Music industry is more cutthroat than the streets.
Yeah.
Or as cutthroat as the streets, I said. I ain't gonna say more, but as cutthroat
right
as the
there,
streets
yeah.
for sure. Because now you're talking about so much money. Now you're talking about so much money that's really hidden in paperwork.
Yeah.
Not like the streets where you got it in mattresses and in your pocket and in the car and you know what I'm saying. So, it gets real tricky. It gets real tricky.
I think when we talk about self-worth, and you kind of nailed it on the head. Like the way that I think about it is you go from having a $1 million idea to becoming the $1 million idea.
There it is. Yeah.
And like that's, if we're putting self-worth in words, it's like really truly understanding your capability, your power, your like everything that you're put on this earth to do.
Yeah.
And I could talk about that for hours because that's so much of what I do. That's my tagline here, and everyone knows, buy into the possibility of you. Like it really is.
That's hard.
Yeah, that's what it's something you can't really teach it.
Right.
It's something that will come with experience and will come with, if it's a moment or a series of moments that kind of lead you down that path.
Yep.
But once you've got it,
can I play devil's advocate to that?
Please go for it.
I think that 50% of it is that.
Okay.
The other 50% is what you go out and get and what you make happen. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean? Because some of it is going to be, like I always say, like God is only going to bring you obviously we don't know the number. Who am I to say what the number is or to even say this?
Yeah.
But playing devil's advocate, God is only going to bring you half of the way.
Yeah.
The other half is what you work for and what you do and what you go out and get. You know what I'm saying? So
it's like God will show you the path, but it's your job to start to take the path. Once you know the way, once you're pointed in that direction, you gotta take it the other 50% or whatever that percentage is.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so you really you like found this piece of you. You kind of really understood who you were and what you were worth, and that like self-awareness piece.
Yeah.
I could be taking guesses here, but when did you become Dreams? When, like, was that in this same time period, or was that prior to or after? Like the name Dreams, I mean, just saying it, it's powerful.
Right.
And I know that it holds a lot of weight and meaning for you.
Right.
As dreams for all of us,
Right.
in general, hold a lot of meaning for us. But when did you become Dreams?
Ironically, I've been Dreams since senior year in high school. When I got that first management deal, I was King Dreams at the time. And, well, I was up until recently. But and my first project was called Life is But a Dream. And I was Dreams. That was my first project. And I don't really even know what really made me come up with the name. I just, like, in hindsight, I wasn't, like, I'm not going to say I wasn't as intelligent, but I wasn't as tapped into my purpose and not as tapped in mentally to understand why I call myself that.
Yeah.
Ironically, it makes perfect sense for me now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was senior year in high school. I've been Dreams since then.
That's incredible. Yeah. I think, like, just knowing you on a little bit more of a personal level, I just think, and knowing your music, it really does, like, fulfill everything that you are and that you speak through your music. So
appreciate
it was intuition back
right,
then.
Right.
You knew.
Foreshadowing.
That's exactly it. All right, so let's keep it going. Let's continue on this trajectory here.
Okay.
So you kind of found you knew your worth, which kind of changed everything for you. Also, I wanted to highlight, you said kind of like getting your mental right is so important, and I appreciate you saying that.
It's the importance.
It absolutely. It 100%, and maybe we can go a little bit into that direction as well, because as my podcast started like solely in the mental health space. I 100% think it affects absolutely everything we do, both personally and professionally. And it takes work to get there, and it takes even more work to stay there. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Let's dive in there.
Again, like we were talking about before, like I said, I think it's so key. It's so key in just being mentally stable. I think even now in today's world, we don't even understand and analyze how mentally distraught a lot of people that we think are normal are. And I'm talking about rappers, singers, athletes, actors, entertainers, even people just from the streets. Like, we suffering from PTSD just from surviving things that people survived in a war, and then they come back and be a veteran, but we got to go on and just survive and just figure out how to be a person and figure out how to, you know what I mean? So I think that taps into being mentally stable. When you see people getting killed and you see your mother struggling and you see all of these things happen to you, and this is just growing. We're talking about childhood. We're not even talking about having a physical injury.
Right.
We're just talking about, just the mental capabilities of being able to sustain certain things as a child. You know what I mean? So I think that when people, I think that's the thing that something that me and you talked about one time is really starting trying to figure out how to tap into like mental health and
Yeah.
hip hop. Because think about it, man. Like we listen to the music now, and this is no shot at the era or no shot at the music, but it's like it's a lot of drug talk.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pill talk, and that don't just come from it being cool. They doing it because it's cool, but they're also doing it because they trying to heal pain. They trying to hide pain. They trying to suppress something that's in them that they can't do no other way outside of alcohol and drugs. You know what I mean? But that comes from not being mentally stable. So I think being like really having that mental health and being able to heal yourself mentally will lead to a lot of uh growth. You know what I mean? Especially in minority cultures, like especially in neighborhoods where we don't have the outlets to go get therapy. Black and Hispanics and Mexicans and Asians and all the other races that are not as privy to some other suburban type of towns, and you know what I'm saying. So I think it's we don't ever have the chance. That's another thing.
Right.
We don't ever have the opportunity to. You know what I mean? I think in when you grow up a certain type of way, upper class people, you kind of got an opportunity. Your mother and your dad gonna make sure you got a therapy every Wednesday. You going to therapy every Wednesday. We playing basketball outside, fighting and hearing gunshots. We don't really get to understand what healing is about until we get too late, until somebody's a suspect or a victim. You know what I mean? So at least from that's from my specific upbringing.
Yeah.
But even generally speaking, for people who are not from the streets, who are not connected to any type of urban world or anything like that, it's still the same type of narrative, just from a different angle of just being able to, because you got some people who have been in domestically abused, some people who have been molested, some people who have done different things, that have been through different things that cause their mental growth to be stunted in some shape or form. But
Yeah.
I think they never going to be able to fully heal, at least in my personal experience, until they really fully address that and really be able to get through it and be able to figure out. And I feel like this, not in a bad way, but I feel like it's okay to never not fully get over something. And I say that because I feel like once, for example, if you get to a place that you feel like for example, if I get to this, right?
Yeah.
And I get to that, I'm going to feel like I got to stop growing. But if I feel like I can continue past that, I'm going to never reach a ceiling of like growth. You know what I mean? So like, I think I was talking to Kay where I said, it's okay. I got to get the line because it was a bomb. It's going to come to me. Like it's
Think on it.
okay.
That's all right.
I'm paraphrasing it, but like basically like it's okay to fail. It's okay to be not okay, because those are the moments where you find the most healing. Think about it that way. Like you'll find the most healing when you're not okay and when you're broken and when you're going through things, because your mind and your heart and your emotions are trying to find its way back to healing. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're okay, just like being a millionaire.
Right.
If you're a billionaire, you're not really thinking about how I'm gonna make more money. You're just already a billionaire. You know what I mean? So when you're hungry and you're going through things and you're struggling, at least if your mind is right, you're gonna find the most healing and the most growth. You know what I mean? In those type of situations.
You just there's so much I want to touch on right now, but I mean that last piece first and foremost. It's okay to not be okay. But it's like the only time you can really see the light, or you see the light the brightest, is when it's dark. And
There it is.
And it's like there is nothing more powerful than a person who can bring themselves back from those places. Like that strength really comes from the lowest places that we could possibly be.
That's it. I got a line where I say, paraphrasing again, I should know my raps, but
That's all right.
I found my strength in my weakest moments. Basically meaning exactly that. Like, you know what I mean? It was like when I was broken, those were the times where I really dug deep in myself and was like, okay, you got it. And this is where everything that I talked about this entire time starts to come in. Everything you've been through, everything you survived, and everything that you're trying to gain and get to, that's when those things come alive in your heart and your mind. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that healing process and that healing place. And I again, like I appreciate you speaking on it, because it's not people shy away from speaking about this type of stuff. Like it makes people uncomfortable. And the craziest part is that anyone listening, you can think about anyone in your life, and literally any person that you can think about in your life has been in a place that has been dark and low and that they've needed to heal.
For
It
sure.
doesn't necessarily mean that everyone has chosen to take the healing path or has,
Right.
has gone down that type of self reflection, excuse me, or has, found their way out yet. But I can guarantee anyone listening,
Mm-hmm.
anyone we come in contact with, anyone you're walking down the street next to, everyone has gone to a place that has been darker for them than they'd like to speak on.
Right.
And and that's it's those types of realities that, like, speaking on this makes it more comfortable to
Right.
know, like, we're, people aren't alone in this. But
Mm-hmm.
where you go, those dark places, you're definitely alone in the dark place, but you're not alone in the feelings that you're having.
For
You're
sure.
not alone in having been that low
Mm-hmm.
in your life. And but it really does, you find the healing, you find the strength, you find the growth. That's where the growth comes from in life.
Right.
And I mean, I could go on a tangent on all
Right.
this, but again, I appreciate you really
Of course.
speaking on that. Can I ask for you this, like, this growth journey and this healing journey for you, like,
Mm-hmm.
what, maybe sort of like what that's looked like for you?
Yeah.
What, yeah.
In one word, a roller coaster.
A
To
roller
be honest,
coaster.
a roller
Yeah.
coaster. From the beginning, it was like it was real tough. You know what I mean? I went through at the very beginning. I went through like a ridiculous what artists will call writer's block.
Okay.
I really got to the point where I could not write music for like the first 5 months, and I just was like, I remember I went down to shout out to one of my mentors, Troy Taylor. I was staying down at his crib like right after my concussion. Ironically, I met him a week prior to my concussion for the first time. He's from my city too. So he's
Wow.
a living legend. Please Google him, everybody that's watching.
Absolutely.
Troy Taylor, TTU, amazing producer, songwriter, Grammy winning, so on and so forth. But I say that all that to say, I met him a week. I was in Atlanta with my shout out to my dog Poons. We went down to Atlanta for a festival, and I happened to meet Troy Taylor
Okay.
prior to going down there. I went down there and he ended up inviting me to his crib, the whole 9 yards, and he's been like a father figure to me since then. That was 2016. Just quick insert. Sorry.
Of course. We're happy to
So,
pump our people.
right.
For sure.
And I remember going to his crib. I'm like, and I probably, and this is thinking in hindsight, there's a such thing as not being ready too, right? In the aspect of healing, right?
Oh,
Taking
yeah.
your time to heal before you're just like spraining your ankle and trying to go play basketball too fast. It's like you can try it, but you're probably not ready. It's the same thing with your mental growth. So I say that to say, so I was at his crib, and this was in December. I remember right before Christmas. I'm gonna go to Troy crib, and I'm gonna try to get my mojo back. So it's only been a couple months, October, September, November, been all 3 months, 4 months. So I'm like, I'm gonna go stay down here and try to get my mojo back. Couldn't write a lick of music. Like, I mean, I can write, but it wasn't me.
It wasn't
I
you.
wasn't me.
You
And I
knew.
felt lost. I remember just sitting up, and he has a upstairs room where people stay at or whatever. I remember being in the room and just breaking down, just crying and feeling like, damn, am I never gonna be able to make music? At that time, I've never had a mental health issue at that level. So
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I forgot how to rap. Maybe I forget, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
just broken. And I just think, I say that to say, like, that's where the journey started, right? That's where the journey started, from feeling like I couldn't do it at all, broken, thinking it was over. As far, I'm just speaking musically and creatively, and even as a person, I just felt hopeless and just
Yeah.
lost. You know what I mean? Because that's what depression and suicide and anxiety and mood swings does to a person. It takes away all of the positive thoughts that you once had prior to those things happening. You know what I'm saying? But so that's where it started. I went from uh not being able to create and not being able to make music to almost like a baby in a way, at least in a creative standpoint, getting it back and gaining my mojo back. And the thing was, I say this to my mother tells me that, and it's ironically it kind of goes with this. I got a tattoo now because she told me. It says, "Your story is your testimony," and I live
Powerful.
by that for sure. Like, I live like she used to tell me that all the time. Every time I used to call her mom, boo, I'm still a mama's boy. You know what I mean? Calling her, oh, I'm feeling like blah blah blah. Your story is your testimony. Your story. She's very short spoken. She's not a super talkative person unless it's something that means something. And she always tell me, your story is your testimony. And now in hindsight, I see how valuable that even statement is. So going back to my journey, so I went from that, then I went from and in that process, I had my son in 2018. So it was like life was showing me beautiful things, but my mind still was just in shambles. You know that emoji with the head. It's like my mind just was like
Exploding. Yeah.
looking normal, acting normal, seeming calm, but my mind is just going all of these type of places,
Wow.
just racing.
Yeah.
I remember I used to have to like wake up and I used to have to just walk. I used to walk every morning for like an hour. Nobody know where I'm at. I ain't picking up from my mother. Nobody, not texting nobody back. Just walking
Yeah.
for like an hour until
Wow.
I feel like I don't know, till I feel whatever I thought I wanted to feel. Then
Mm-hmm.
I go back and do nothing. I didn't want to talk. I didn't really want to do much. I didn't want to listen to music. I couldn't. It got to a point where I didn't even want to listen to rap music because it used to discourage me. Like, damn, these niggas is going crazy. They're going like, you know what I mean? They're doing, and I was like, I can't get my mojo back, and it just used to discourage me. So I used to listen for like a month. I didn't listen to no music. I couldn't make none, so I
Yeah.
just was in that pocket of that. But again, that to say like that was the start of the journey, and then going forward to like being able to talk about it because I was like almost like a egg like cracking. Like at the beginning, I was
Mm-hmm.
not talking about it. I didn't want to say nothing, and then I kind of started sprouting a little bit, having conversations with
Okay.
my mother, having conversations with you know what I mean, my partner, and all of that type of stuff. So
Yeah.
it was like, think that was the real growth of it. And then again, like if you go back to what I was saying at the beginning, like I'm not a real talkative person like that unless you like my homie or you. I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
I'm the one that come in the room and I'm really tucked. I'm really tucked off. So it's just like even that was a process of learning how to. Now I gotta relearn how to communicate again.
Right.
Now I got emotional problems with it as I'm doing it. You know what I mean? So I think that was part of the process. And then just I think that like I said, the biggest thing was just learning how to communicate. Just learning
Mm-hmm.
that it's okay to not be okay. Learning that people are not against me. Learning again, it's like all the other things that we talked about earlier are like
Yeah.
all back in this process. The learning your worth, the communication, the understanding your purpose, all of these things playing in my mind was all part of the journey of like to get back to where I am now.
Mm-hmm. And you're speaking on again so many things, but
Hmm.
all I'm like hearing that roller coaster that you
Yeah.
said. Like there are, I kind of call it the waves of life.
Mm.
Like we go on these ups and downs in our journey, and we have
Right.
to figure out when we're down. We have to figure out how to get back up. When we're up, we have to understand that we're not gonna be there forever.
Hmm.
And then so figuring out and what you said, which I think is so important and it's so simple, but it's almost like we don't like to have to do it, but the
Hmm.
communication,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the the talking to someone other than being in your head and in your
Yeah.
thoughts,
Yeah.
that letting someone in about like this is what I'm going through, or this is a piece of what I'm going through, or this is what I'm struggling with right now,
Hmm.
whether it's your mom or your partner or
Right.
your friend or whoever it might be. I know that is a huge part of healing for a lot of people. And it
Yeah.
seems like, just kind of learning how to say, I'm not okay and it's okay not to be
Right.
okay
Right.
is one of those things that, that gives you a piece of your power back.
For sure.
When you're able to kind of claim that, I say it's like naming and claiming when you can
Mhm.
actually verbalize that you're not okay rather than trying to convince yourself that you are okay. And,
Right.
like, because, that doesn't address what's actually
The
going on.
problem. Right.
So,
Agreed.
I mean, my goodness, there's so many directions we
Hmm.
can go in right now.
Right.
We still got plenty of time, so we're gonna keep going.
Yep.
But so this was, you said, about 2018 when your son was being born
Yep.
as well. So what from there? Let's talk about the uphill, because I
Okay.
know it was an uphill,
Yep.
but I don't want to make assumptions either, but
Mm.
again, from knowing you on a little bit more of a personal level, like you are thriving right now from what I can
Thank you.
see.
Thank you.
Let's kind of talk about from 2018 to where we're at now.
Hmm. From there, I honestly just got it in my head in the healing process, personally and career wise, that
Uh-huh.
like, okay, I gotta go get it. I
Okay.
gotta go get it because for two reasons. One, nobody's gonna hand it to you.
Mm-hmm.
The other reason is it could be snatched away from you.
For
Right?
sure.
So it's like, all right, I gotta go make it happen now. Cause I see how quick life could be different for you. And I already knew that growing up in the streets and growing up
Mm-hmm.
just life, just knowing life, period. Not even outside of the streets. Just knowing how precious life is and
Yeah.
just knowing, okay, I came real close to being little, being different. Let's call it that. You know what I mean? So I think I really understood and I really had it in my heart. Like not that I didn't before that, but that was like my turning point after my head injury. it was like ain't shit about to stop me now. This is
Mm-hmm.
we good. Like ain't nothing about to stop me but me. I got a saying that I always say with my homies. Like if we mess this up, it's because we did it. In the position you in now in life, if you mess this up, it's because you didn't want it and you just you know what I mean. So
Own it. That
you didn't.
ownership
That's
piece.
it. On being just
Oh
like
yeah.
just you know what I mean. Being accountable for your wrongs. Everybody want to be
Mm-hmm.
accountable for their rights. Like you know what I mean for the right things they do. But I think and again, my shout out to my bro KS because I literally wouldn't another insert. I literally wouldn't be here without KS in my career. It wouldn't be Dreams the way I am without KS just mentally pushing me, physically pushing me, emotionally pushing me, financially pushing, like you know what I mean. So whole nother conversation which we'll get into. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we just started really just hitting the road. To be honest, I started going to Atlanta every week. That was obviously I met, like I said, Troy Taylor in 2016. So I'm also signed as a songwriter right now, which a lot of people may know or may not know. So I do a
Congratulations.
lot of
That's
thank you,
awesome.
a lot of R&B songwriting as well for a lot of major artists, independent artists, whatever the case may be. So I did a lot of songwriting with him over that 2 years from 2016 to 2018. So I was going back and forth doing songwriting things, having meetings. I had some meetings with Empire, Universal, just trying to get my name up a little bit. And
Yeah.
um, maybe about late 2018, 2019, we started going to LA. I
Okay.
went my first time in LA probably was I went with Sparks before I started going on a like a business runs, I guess you would call it. We went just for leisure. I would think it was like I want to say it was like 2018. That was my first time.
Okay.
And then the second time I went back, it was for no, I'm lying. The first time I went back was with Sparks for a Rock Nation thing. Shout
Nice.
out to Raj, one of my homies. Raj, he was at Rock Nation. He's at Sony AMG now. He's the president at Sony AMG.
All right.
So Raj, I had a partnership with Raj where I was working on I was co-writing records for like major artists, like doing DJ Mustard and Hit Boy and Boy Wonder and all of
Okay.
these other super producers that he had me just writing hooks for. So that's my first time in LA in 2018, right? So after that, I'm like, it's crazy out there. We got to keep going. We got to keep going,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's when me and Kay started going back. We was going back like maybe every other month, damn near, right? So we went maybe like 4 times in 2019, few times, and you know what I mean. Then it started getting too
Mm-hmm.
expensive. Then it's like, oh, we gotta figure this out. So along that journey in 2019, I want to say that's when I met my guy Mars, right? Or actually, I didn't even meet my guy Mars. I met one of my homies who was a like blogger,
Okay.
like a influencer type person who was just in the mix in LA.
Gotcha.
And we went to lunch, and I'm asking him like who, just chopping it up, like how do I get in the mix? How do I get popping out here? Who is the
Mm-hmm.
who? First person he said was my guy. You don't know my guy? Do you
My
know
guy
like
Mars.
you know my
Yep.
guy Mars? I'm like, nah. I knew his music.
I'm
In
supposed to know
hindsight,
him.
yeah, like, I'm
Yeah.
supposed to. In hindsight, I knew their music and I knew of 1500 to an
Mm-hmm.
extent, but I didn't know who he was.
Right.
But he at that time he probably was like the fourth person who told me my guy Mars, and I'm like, all right, so I got to figure out who my guy Mars is. I think I got to figure out who my guy Mars is. So at the time, he was running a live event show that they did every Tuesdays, I think, right? So we happened to be in town. I try to go meet him. Mind you, I've never met him. I don't even know I know what he looked like now because I found his Instagram, right?
Yeah.
So, but at the time, I didn't know him. So he's, I couldn't catch him. He moving all through the club. I couldn't run down on him. So I ended up sending him a DM, like, yo, people keep saying you the guy. I'm trying, whatever. I'm out here promoting my single. How could we work? Blah blah blah. The usual play. What's up? I'm trying to do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He hit me back like, yo, yeah, whatever. What's the word? Whatever. He's like, send me some music. So I got the email back, sent him some music. Probably like a day later, he hit me back like, bro, who are you? Who you signed to? Who's managing? The whole play. Who's
Yep.
managing you? What's going on? Like, wait, where you? Like the whole what's what? Are you cool? Like, what's your play? You know what I mean? So that's when I really started going back and forth to LA in like 2019, just literally every month. Boom, boom, boom. K just spending 1,500 on an Airbnb. Like, oh my
Yep.
God, just going crazy. Rent a car, flight, and just every month. But that's when I first started working with Mars and 1,500, and we were just starting to just build a thing. So after that, I signed to him in early 2019, I would say 2019 or so. That's when I signed a deal with Astronaut Gang. Shout out to my dog, my guy Mars, 1,500. So from there, I started going back and forth. But then it got to the point where it was like, all right, now we're spending too much money. Now we're spending $5,000 a month just for you to go to LA. And not making it all back. We just grinding now.
Right.
Granted, I signed a deal and we doing all of that, and we doing, here's another insert. Turn down your advance, artist. Turn down the events, man. I turned down my events. I didn't
That's
want the money. I don't want to owe
hey.
nobody no money. Unless you're in a position where you're gonna have a certain type of ownership, and you're gonna have a certain type of, situation where you're gonna be in a position, own your masters, and do everything you got to do and turn down your events. And just quick insert so that you don't owe nobody no money.
Hey.
When you get your bag, it's all yours, and you can do what you got to do. So yeah, I signed to Mars in 2019. So then I started going back and forth and just working on records. We working on. That's when I met Nip for the first time. RIP to the legend. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, man. RIP to one of the goats. Met Nip, and just was just being in that energy of just, oh wait, this is how it go. You know what I mean? Started working with Snoop, and then worked on the Ti project. Just started just really at that time. Did major things, but it started coming at a rate that was just like,
Yeah.
oh, oh, oh. You know what I
It
mean?
just
Every
all
day,
started
every
coming
night,
at
it
you.
started being like another person, and that was cool. So then now it was like, it got to the point where me and Kay was like, all right, not only are we spending too much money, now you're missing too much opportunity when you're gone. So now it's like, what's the other option?
Right.
Now you gotta now we gotta figure out how to get you there. You know what I'm saying? So now here's where we get to the point in my life and my career where we talk about the sacrifice of everything. You know what I mean? Now it's about, what am I willing to lose, gain? What am I willing to sacrifice for this dream that I've been trying to chase for so long? You know what I mean? So in 2020, that's when I ended up moving to California. April 2020, I drove my car across the country, packed up everything I could fit in there, drove across the country. I had a roommate that I didn't even know. He was a producer too. Shout out to him for the love, but you know what I mean? I didn't even know him, but it was what we had to do to get me in that position. You know what I mean? So we did that and just kept building. Like I kept building. This is 2020. What we in, 21? So I've been in LA living a year and some plus. So throughout this past year, I just been kind of building and getting my name up and just writing records, writing R&B records, doing features, and just building and just getting my name up as a lyricist, as an artist, as a songwriter, and so on and so forth. And then again, it all comes back to my worth. And now that I'm figuring out all of these things, not in the aspect of like, oh, I did some things. Now I feel like I'm never that, but more in the aspect of like, okay, I'm putting in more work and I deserve more. I'm doing more things and I'm gaining more stripes, and I deserve more. I put in so much work, and mind you, we talking, shout out to my guy K. He been my manager since 2010. And my business partner since 2010, you know what I mean? Ironically enough, the very first night that we spoke was the night that my oldest daughter was born. I'll never forget it. She was just born like an hour prior. August 24th, 2010 was the day we became business partners.
Oh my
Literally, so I
gosh.
always have that staple in my mind. But all of that to say, like, we got to the point where it was like, all right, we got to get you out there. You know what I mean? We got to get you in the mix and just starting to. So I did all of that, like I said, just was working, doing features and getting my name up and trying to get acquainted and getting that. And then the tricky thing is with signing to somebody who is already an entity, if I'm playing devil's advocate to that, it's a good thing, but the devil's advocate part is to it that they so successful that you got to come in and figure out how to be as successful in the process. You know what I'm saying? Which is great because I love the journey, because it walked me in rooms, it put me in lights, and all I had to do was come up and show my job, do my job. You know what I'm saying? So all of that to say, that's exactly how we got here. And now we're, like I said in the last question you asked, leading me right up to tonight's session, like literally to the moment of everything that happened then. Is leading me right up to literally this moment. You know what I mean?
It's so incredible. Just like hearing you tell your story and again hearing that roller coaster, hearing those waves of the path that you've been on, and to be where you're at now, like it's just like there's so much power behind your story and behind how you've gotten to where you're at. And also, that self-worth piece. And I think it's so awesome that you pump your people up. And I think that's something I always do in the podcast, and I'll do shout outs at the end. But, you got to support your people because your people are supporting you.
I'm nowhere without my support system. I'll be super clear about that. Like, I would be nowhere without my supporting cast.
And it's something, there's something like so incredible because it's like, when you know your self-worth, like you've got that power in you. When someone else knows your worth, you're unstoppable.
Right.
Because like between you and your team, like you're exponential growth. Like
for
that,
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wish we could talk forever. We got about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
We've definitely come to the
Yeah.
place now that we got here.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about
There
purpose.
it is.
Let's talk about purpose
There it
because
is.
that really is sort of the cap off to this podcast.
Okay.
I like to bring on people who are dedicating their lives to purpose or something that's purposeful and meaningful to them, and kind of, understanding what that means to you. Like,
Yep.
let's just speak on that for a couple
For
minutes.
sure. For sure. Early on in life, as I look back in hindsight, even in my younger like adulthood years, like I kind of always been like on this purpose journey, and once I figured out what my purpose was, before I even get into that, I just to clearly say it, and I love saying it now because I'm so confident in it. I was sent here to inspire people. I was sent here to touch people. I was sent here to get people through something that they may have been going through,
Absolutely.
to get them over their hump, right? And I think God has blessed me with a gift of a musical gift to be able to use this music as a vessel to do those things. At least one of the vessels, because there's other vessels. I've done community work. I've done other things, and that kind of bring me back to what I was about to say. There's other things in my life as I look back, like, oh, actually, you was in your purpose. You just wasn't doing music. Like I used to coach kids. I used to coach kids basketball from ages 7 to like 13, and it was like, now that I think back to it, the things that I used to tell them. And then I still get kids hitting me right now to this day. One just texted me today, like, "Hey, could you I'm trying to shoot a video on Wednesday. Could you listen to the song and tell me what you think?" But I used to coach him when he was 8 years old.
Oh,
But that's
my
purpose.
goodness.
You know what I mean? That's purpose about
Absolutely.
like things that I taught him and things that I talked to him about that got him like I could still look to dreams and look to coach, quote unquote, for certain things. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that knowing your purpose, multiple things. It also it brings us back to that word worth again.
Yeah.
Once you really figure out your purpose, you understand your meaning in life. I felt like I understood why I was here, and it made me understand. It even, again, it brings me back to this session tonight. It started to help me understand the type of music that I needed to make.
Yeah.
It helped me understand where I was going in life as a person. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it gets so deep in depth. Like some of my viewers or some of the viewers may know, like, I just posted a post the other day that said, like, I'm not physically or personally cussing or saying the N-word in none of my music no more. Me personally. Not that my songs can't have it or other people can't do it, but me personally. And I say that because I started figuring out the deeper layer of my purpose. It's going to be certain people that might be trying to tap into what I got to teach them that are not ready to hear those type of things. And now I lose that purpose, and that person may not be able to get my message because of the profanity that I was using.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So I think just knowing your purpose and understanding it, truly understanding it, is like literally the meaning in life. Because I think some people go through so long, like you could be 90 years old, and that's another thing. Age don't mean that you have found your purpose. You could be 5 years old, because there's kids that are just miracle kids.
Yeah.
And, you know, my kid might have cancer, but his purpose was to inspire the rest of this hospital to be survivors. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like age don't really got a purpose. I mean, purpose doesn't really have an
It has
age. I'm
age,
sorry.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's vital just to understand your being and understand why you were sent here and what you were sent to do, literally.
It's, oh my gosh, it's so important. I hate that we got a time cap on this because
Yeah.
I could seriously, I mean, you are speaking so much truth.
Yeah.
And I think the way that you say things as
Yeah.
well is like, I know that this is getting to all the listeners right now,
For
kind of
sure,
really
for sure.
understanding like, it's like, what are you sent here to do? What is that meaning for you? And you said it so clearly, you're here to inspire people. And
That's it.
I mean, I can attest to, I know that that's happening in this podcast, a
for
small
sure.
piece of it, but
For
it
sure.
happens in your music daily. And I
Thank
think
you.
that's
Thank you.
genuinely, you have a gift, and we are definitely blessed to have your
Thank you so
purpose.
much. Thank you for having me.
Of
for
course.
Sure.
Of
Thank you.
course. All right. So in the last couple minutes, I like to do a rapid fire question round.
Okay.
Super simple. It's going to take us about 1.5 minutes. So we'll get into it right now. So in the beginning of the podcast, I said we were talking about 3 things: development, decision making, and dedicating yourself to purpose.
Okay.
All of which you've talked about in, many different stories that you told today. So development right now, currently, are you working more on personal or professional development?
Personal
Development.
Yes.
Okay. Decision making. Do you make more of your decisions based on choice or guiding voice? Choice meaning like you're a numbers guy and you go with the facts. Guiding voice mean you intuition, spirituality, etc.
Oh, guiding voice. for
Guiding
sure.
voice. All
Yeah.
right. And dedicating yourself to purpose. Is this a singular moment in time or a daily practice?
Daily.
There it is.
Daily. Forever.
There it is. I love
Daily.
it. I love it. And I think those three answers make so much sense with
Right.
everything that you've told us today. And
For sure.
okay, so in the last couple of minutes, all of my guests should do this, but you have pumped your people up through the podcast. So I always give people the chance to shout people out.
Yeah.
Please feel free to shout anyone out that you want.
Of course.
Also, leave us with your final words and let everyone know where they can find you.
Got you. I really only want to shout out the people who got me here, to be honest.
Awesome.
God. Shout out to my brother K. K from KS Simmons. Like literally my brother, my dog. I wouldn't be Dreams if it wasn't for him. Shout out to Troy Taylor, you know what I mean? Amazing father figure, even personally and business. Shout out to my guy Mars. Shout out to my brother Sparks. Astronaut Gang. That's it, man. We self-made, to be honest. I humbly said we really got here by ourselves. You know what I mean? So I don't have that many people to shout out, to be honest. Shout out my kids, you know what I mean? They're literally my biggest inspiration. You can find me on everything is I Am King Dreams, IamKingDreams.com, my Instagram, my Twitter, my Snapchat. I Am King Dreams. Please follow me, tap in. I got new music coming. Let me say that again. I got new music coming, man. I got new music coming. We got a new EP coming in January. I don't even know if I was supposed to say that yet, but we got an EP coming in January. Me and my guy Mars got a project coming, man. I got some big records that I wrote for some of your favorite artists that I wish I could say because we didn't sign a contract yet, but Jesus, stick with me, man.
It's on the way.
And if I got to leave y'all with some words, man, it's never give up. Never give up. Stay resilient. Stay focused. Stay passionate. Stay dedicated. Stay hungry. Stay purposeful. Stay inspired. You know, stay focused on your vision. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't dream as big as you want to. If you're from the bottom, just believe that the top is on the way. If you're at the top, stay humble before you lose it. You know what I mean? And everybody that's in the streets, please stay safe, man. That's another thing I wanted to touch real quick. We losing a lot of rappers to gun violence, man. Like, RP to everybody who's lost. Please stay safe in the trenches because, like I said, the rap game is literally the other side of the trenches, man. So stay safe, stay positive, stay blessed. And my tagline is dreams. Appreciate you.
Dreams. Thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure.
I appreciate you.
Give a couple quick shout outs because I like to end the pod. Well, I usually begin it, but I was just so pumped to have you on here.
Yeah.
So end the podcast. Shout out to Gotham Podcast Studio. They are always hooking it up here with the audio and visuals. Shout out to MC Kicks, though I'm not wearing some MC Kicks gear right now. If you are watching, I have my Everything Spicy phone case. Today, I am actually wearing my Dope Individual sweatshirt. So you can go to my website, BrieUndeniably.com, if you want a Dope Individual sweatshirt yourself or any Dope Individual or I Am Possible gear. And just the biggest thank you, Dreams. It has been a sincere pleasure. You don't even understand. You are inspiring people that you know you'll never know their name right. But they know yours, and genuinely you keep living in your purpose because you're doing an incredible job.
For sure. Thank you.
Thank you all for listening as I end on my podcast. Until next time, let this be the moment.
There it is.